Republicans reject border bill, sign of Trump's strength and McConnell's waning influence. Washington. Within 48 hours of releasing a long-awaited immigration and foreign aid bill he had championed, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's Republican conference rejected his proposal support, canceled the deal and left him for dead. Only 4 Republicans voted for it. In the end, even McConnell reversed course and voted against the package he helped craft. It was a shocking moment on Capitol Hill that signaled a changing landscape. The Kentucky Republican, a one-man center of power for more than a decade, is seeing his influence among his fellow senators diminish as his party continues to transform into a right-wing party. The populist mold of Donald Trump, the former president, who fiercely opposed the border deal and long pushed his fellow Republicans to turn away from McConnell, is headed for a third straight GOP presidential nomination. It seems to me and most of our members that we have no real chance of passing legislation, McConnell told reporters Tuesday, declaring the deal dead after speaking at his conference. The collapse of this program risks a complete end to American aid to Ukraine. McConnell, who is accustomed to Republican senators following his strategic directions, has been begging them for months not to let Russian strongman Vladimir Putin make inroads into Europe, lest it upend the world order United States has led since World War II. Those calls have fallen on deaf ears with conservative lawmakers and voters, who align with a wing of Trump that has opposed giving Ukraine money and weapons to defend itself. The Senate is still trying to pass an additional aid bill on its own that would include aid to Ukraine and Israel, but it is far from certain that it can pass Congress, despite the support from McConnell. There were 10 of us who voted against him at the start of this Congress. There may be a few more people questioning him. Senator Ron Johnson, R-Wis, said Wednesday. I hope many of my colleagues are wondering, how did we end up in a situation where we were blamed for Biden's open borders policy? How could this be possible? The answer is that McConnell made it possible. Senator Rand Paul, RKY, called McConnell's moves to reach the border and Ukraine a serious tactical error. It was a huge mistake. And I think he always cared more about giving money to Ukraine than any other issue, Paul said of his fellow Kentuckian. Paul, who holds isolationist views on foreign policy, has often found himself among a marginal minority of Republicans, while McConnell's positions have won the support of most of his colleagues. Lately, this dynamic has evolved. On this issue, he is not aligned with conservatives, whether at home in Kentucky or across the country, who don't think we can send unlimited money, Paul said. McConnell rejected claims from his GOP critics that he should not have engaged in negotiations to tie aid to Ukraine to a border and asylum bill, reminding them that it was their idea. I followed the instructions of my conference, which insisted that we address this issue in October. It was actually our side that wanted to tackle the border issue. We started it, McConnell said. Things have changed in the last 4 months. His office declined to comment further. That surprises me. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, said he was shocked that McConnell had failed to rally more Republicans around the bill. He didn't just bless the deal. He was the one who wrote the deal, said Murphy, the lead Democrat in those negotiations. I have enormous respect for his commitment to Ukraine. I really enjoyed working with his team. They were in the room every day. But it's really concerning that a deal drafted and approved by the minority leader gets 4 votes from his caucus. Senator Chris Coons, D-Del, who was elected in 2010 to replace Joe Biden, said that in his nearly 14 years he had never seen a deal backed by McConnell fall apart so quickly with the GOP. This surprises me, he said. But it was Trump who hammered home the deal, while using immigration as a campaign theme, and demanding that Republicans reject it, who won. On Tuesday, Senator John Barrasso, RYO, a member of McConnell's leadership team and one of several candidates to replace him as leader, rejected the border bill, saying, Americans will turn to the next election to end the border crisis. McConnell's diminishing influence goes beyond Ukraine and immigration. After Republicans took control of the House in 2022 and nominated Trump allies to lead it, McConnell said he would stay out of negotiations to fund the government and raise the debt ceiling, instead asking the House Republicans and President Joe Biden to find a solution. It was an unusual move for McConnell, who had regularly been at the center of such monumental deals, both as Senate Majority and Minority Leader, under the presidencies of Barack Obama, Trump and at least until then Biden, a longtime friend of his friend. Even in the Democratic trio of 2021 and 2022, McConnell used the filibuster to thwart Biden's biggest ambitions, but he allowed some bipartisan deals he supported to advance, from infrastructure to modest gun legislation to fire by updating the electoral rules, with the support of several Senate Republicans. The Senate GOP is becoming more Trumpier. Conservatives in the House are now accustomed to lobbing rhetorical grenades at McConnell, accusing him and others who work with Democrats of being part of a united party. Usually, when Mitch McConnell puts together a bill with the disparate issues he wants, he achieves his goal, Representative Matt Gaetz, R. Florida, told reporters. And for the first time we won, so there is a party atmosphere. When it was reported last month that McConnell expected a vote on a Ukraine aid bill, Representative Chip Roy, R. Texas, responded, "I intend to tell McConnell to pound sand." During Trump's presidency, the Senate GOP was filled with loyal McConnell allies who allowed the Republican leader to approach legislative conflicts with the then president from a position of strength. But many of them have since been replaced by Trump loyalists or changed to align themselves more with Trump. McConnell's once functional relationship with Trump broke down after January 6, 2021. Although he voted to acquit Trump in his second impeachment trial, McConnell delivered a blistering speech holding Trump practically and morally accountable of the failed insurrection. Asked about Trump's role in the failure of the immigration bill, McConnell said, "I have said repeatedly every month that I will not get into comments on the presidential race among the Republicans. I think ultimately, even if the product is approved by the Border Council which supported President Trump, most of my members feel that they will not be able to pass a law here." Even among right-wing Senate Republicans, attacks on McConnell were unusual during the vast majority of his tenure as leader. Today they have become common. On Tuesday, 6 Republicans held a news conference and took turns criticizing McConnell and his leadership team. Sen. Rick Scott of Florida, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, Mike Lee of Utah, Ted Cruz of Texas, J.D. Vance of Ohio, Eric Schmidt of Missouri, and Roger Marshall of Kansas. Many of them openly questioned whether McConnell, the longest-serving Senate leader, should keep his job. Cruz said it was time for McConnell to resign. "I think so," he said. "Look, everyone here also supported a leadership challenge to Mitch McConnell in November. I think a Republican leader should lead this conference and advance Republican priorities." McConnell smiled when asked to respond. "I think we can all agree that Senator Cruz is not a fan," he said. Mitch's driving force was pretty clear. Among right-wing Republicans in both chambers, McConnell has become such a flashpoint that on Tuesday night, when the House failed to impeach DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas in an embarrassing vote, a Republican aide of the Senate jokingly texted, "Will be interesting to see how they blame McConnell for this failed vote." Senator Kevin Cramer, RND, said he doesn't blame McConnell for the way the border bill went, saying, "On this one, Mitch's driving force was pretty clear for a long time was Ukraine. Even leaders have political capital, and he spent a lot of political capital on Ukraine," Cramer said, adding that he doesn't think McConnell misinterpreted the conference. He attributed the changing landscape to a more independent Republican Party and the ability to be a famous senator today. Cramer said his colleagues make a name for themselves simply by saying no to everything and demonizing things before they see them, adding, "It's become way too easy to do that. There's too much of an audience for that. It's much easier than doing the hard work of legislating," he said. What are the main benefits of comparing car insurance quotes online?